Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, all very cheeky of you. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Coupon Carl, who says, my 27 male, girlfriend 26 female, is an extreme couponer, and it's driving me up the wall. Help! I don't even know how to begin describing my problem, so I'll give a little backstory. My girlfriend Jody and I met in college, and we got serious, so we moved in together after graduation. I really love her. She's smart and funny and beautiful and practical. She had a tough time growing up because her family was living below the poverty line, so she's extremely frugal and careful with her money. This is a blessing for me because my ex-girlfriend, the one before her, spent money like it was going to rot. Jody takes care of our finances and keeps me up to date on what's going on and how we are doing. I feel stupid for even complaining about this because my buddies say Jody is a great girl with a sensible head on her shoulders. While they're having horrible fights or relationship problems with their own girlfriends that involve cheating, fiancés and what have you, I don't have that problem with Jody. In fact, she is so far the opposite way because she excessively clips coupons. I think her mum used to do it when she was a kid, and now Jody has turned it into an art form. She spends a few hours a day sorting out her coupons or looking online for them. She makes her co-workers mad by hogging the printer sometimes. Every weekend she will make me go with her and we get a truckload of toothpaste or toilet paper or whatever is on sale. Our apartment looks like a Costco supply warehouse because she just stocks up like crazy. It's gotten so bad that some cashiers will quickly close their till when they see Jody heading for the checkout with a gleam in her eye. God knows I love Jody, but she's on a mission when she goes shopping with coupons and I'm a little more than her sidekick trolley boy. I admit, it does save us both a lot of money. And a few times I brought it up, Jody says she's doing this for our future. The money saved on groceries goes into a down payment for our future house, she says. Never mind the bathroom is stuffed floor to ceiling with tampons, or that I go to sleep surrounded by boxes of Lucky Charms. I've tried to put up with it as long as I could, but it was my birthday a few days ago and I had mentioned I needed to top up my shaving cream. And Jody went and got me 42 cans. It was free with coupons. She was puzzled when I was less than thrilled and said that she had been saving them for this occasion. I tried telling her that I would have much preferred doing something together or even just having her make dinner for both of us, but she got upset I didn't appreciate her gift and we didn't talk for a while. I don't know what to do. And when I see the show Extreme Couponers on TLC, I see the long-suffering husbands on there with the 1,000-yard stare. I'm always afraid that would be me one day. Eventually, I will be found dead in our apartment, crushed under a mountain of cat food. My family and buddies are saying I'm making too big a deal out of nothing, and I should be grateful Jody is good with money, but hot damn, I just want to go to the store sometimes and not have the cashiers fleeing every time I head towards the counter. How do I approach the topic with Jody? And we do have an update and an edit to this post. And first, I got to apologize myself for having a little chuckle at some parts, and it's just the way that OP is writing the story, crushed under a mountain of cat food. It just gave me a vivid image, and just sleeping like surrounded by boxes of Lucky Charms. But OP mentioned those coupon shows, and it brought me back to like when I watch these like Nightmare Neighbors, and there's like hoarding ones, and then I've seen the coupon shows as well, and I wonder if it's compulsive. Because hearing about your birthday and then her turning up with like 42 cans of shaving cream just seems a bit beyond, doesn't it? So I wonder if you can discuss this with her and try to get to the bottom of it. Maybe it's her past and growing up, like you explained, that's brought her to this. Or maybe she just does like gathering coupons like that. But I have to say, from my point of view, and this is only from my point of view, I like to live, probably minimalist is the best way to explain it. Is I like sides to be clean. I like open space. So I think this would drive me absolutely mad. I wonder if you can talk to her about possible therapy or something along those lines. And I don't know if I'm going too far with that or not, but it's just the things that's popping up in my head at the moment. But some relevant comments from OP that says, I did think she may have a hoarding disorder. but I really don't know how to tell her without hurting her. We do use the items she gets us. She won't just get items for the sake of getting them because she can. So it's really hard for me to see if there really is a problem with her, or I'm just frustrated because I deal with this every day. I think you are right in the sense that I can't mention the couponing. Her defenses go up every time I do, so because we thought about it quite a bit. Mainly her point is that I don't appreciate all the time and effort she puts in to save us money. I do appreciate her frugality, but I think this is going overboard. Someone else suggested that we donate some of our haul, that doesn't have a fast approaching expiry date of course, to shelters or charities in the area. So I'm going to do a bit of Googling and then talk to her about it. Once I did put my foot down and refused to go to a store with her, but when I popped in on my own, our regular cashier, one of the nicer ones who often ring us up, told me that Jody was really struggling on the day I wasn't there, and I felt so guilty that I agreed to go along for the next trip. Now I see that I'm just helping to enable her, but I can't bear to see her struggling. But I understand now that I have to be assertive if I want to help her. And we do have an update, which we're going to cover in just a second, but I have a question myself. Couponing. Is couponing, I'm having trouble saying that word, still a big thing in 2022? I mean, I'm not sure if it is ever a big thing in the UK. I might be totally wrong there, but I've just never heard of it being a big thing. I've heard of the odd coupon you can get here and there, but from that show and like what I've heard from in the US, sometimes people can do like their whole weekly shop on coupons sometimes. And some of these people had like proper like full folders full of coupons that they could dig out, and they were all sorted in alphabetical order and all this kind of thing. Let me know, I'm really curious about that. But then OP went on to update the post, which says, "Hey guys, thanks so much for all the comments and useful advice I got. As for the PMs I got, they range from people getting pissed off with Jody for hogging the printer to someone asking me to pass on any unwanted coupons or freebies I might have. Anyway, I thought I'd pop in and give you guys an update. I made some phone calls, brushed up my Google Foo, and made a list of charities that we could donate some of our haul to. Then I sat down with Jody and explained to her that while I really appreciate her efforts at being frugal, we really need our living space back. She was quiet for a while and asked me if the 42 cans of shaving cream she had gotten for my birthday were making me feel like this. I explained that they were the tipping point, and that our stockpiling had always bothered me on some level. I called it the haul, like a bad Miley Cyrus song. We talked for a bit and I suggested the charity donations, passing her the list. At first she was all for the idea and agreed to give 70% of the haul to charity, but deep down I suspected it wasn't going to be as easy as all that. We set aside a weekend and some friends came over to help move the stuff while another buddy of mine came by with his truck so we could make the rounds at the charities. To be honest, this was the first time our friends had been inside our apartment. The what the fuck looks on our friends' faces pretty much confirmed that our lives were a living episode of hoarders. Unfortunately, as Jody witnessed the haul being actually physically taken away, she got an anxiety attack at the thought of losing the security of her stockpile, and we stopped to calm her down. I hugged her and I told her that I was proud of her for all the stuff she was giving away to charity, and after a long while, she seemed a bit better. We carried on with the donations as planned, and another buddy of mine is going to help me with a tax write-off. We talked about this, and I'm pretty sure Jody is more addicted to the rush of getting a good deal and saving money, because she is getting better at letting go of her stockpile. I'm actually really proud of her. Just from couponing, she's saved about $15,000 over 2 years for our house fund. I did take pictures of the haul because I thought you guys might want to see what I was talking about in my last post. But Jody was utterly embarrassed and pleaded with me not to post anything, even though I had removed any identifiers. So I'm going to respect their wishes and not post pictures, even though they're a doozy. But I really want to thank you all for your advice, tips and help, and one bro who offered to buy my shaving cream. Now that Christmas is coming up, Jody is partnering with a shelter and preparing to go couponing again for the stuff they need specifically. We're also going to get nice Christmas gifts for all the long-suffering cashiers who didn't mind checking out all our shopping hauls in the past, as a thank you, as well as our friends who helped with the donation drive. They deserve it. Hope you guys have a great Christmas and happy holidays. And then some relevant comments on this post that says, I have to admit that her panic attack really worried me. But on my previous post, I remembered many Redditors had mentioned that they had family members/friends who grew up in poverty too, and became anxious if the house wasn't stocked with food and necessities. I figured Jody might have such a reaction and I wasn't wrong, but she was dealing with it much better now. I'm so proud of her. I was really fortunate that Jody went with the idea of donating almost everything. I mean, she has donated in the past, but not on this scale before. This one charity knew we were coming, but they must have thought I was exaggerating the size of the pile because their jaws dropped when we arrived with a mini mountains of goods. The good thing is that Jody got her friends to help out too, so now they are like the Justice League, but with coupons. Here's hoping it all goes to help out some folks during the holidays. Jody grew up in poverty, so she more than understands it all. And I'm glad to see that things are moving in the right direction for OP and Jody as well. And I do hope that they did seek some additional, maybe professional help as well. Maybe it's not needed, but with the anxiety going on, it was a little bit of a worry and was popping into my head. While she's doing good with her couponing while helping out, charities, which I think is wonderful. I wonder if the issue is still there, but clearly I do not know that. But it does sound like a wonderful thing she is doing, and I don't want to overshadow that at the same time. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if you was OP? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Snow Fallacy with an update as well, who says, am I the arsehole for disabling my boyfriend's access to my Peloton account when he wasn't talking to me? I don't know why I chuckled at that. It's like whenever I hear Peloton, all I can hear is those adverts, let's go Peloton, and everyone's in that living room going absolutely crazy. Anyway, so my boyfriend had a rough 2020 because he loves to travel and he got laid off from his job at a very big commercial airline that allowed him to travel the world for free. Learning his uncle was diagnosed with cancer in December just added insult to the injury. He went into a pretty deep depression and gained a considerable amount of weight. And I've tried to be supportive by letting him use all my memberships for free so he can save money while he looks for a job. Have been cooking healthy meals, and I gave him access to my Peloton account so he could do his own workouts from home while I'm at work. We got into a really big argument last week because I fell asleep during a movie. This is his pet peeve, and there have been times in the past where he has stormed out of my place because I have fallen asleep during movies or shows he suggested. When we were in therapy at one point, he said when I fall asleep it makes him feel like I'm disengaged, and I totally respected that and promised I would inform him when I was either too tired to watch something or was getting sleepy while we were watching something. Last weekend, he suggested we watch a documentary, and 15 minutes into the documentary, he asked me if I was falling asleep. I said I was getting sleepy, but I wasn't sleeping. 2 minutes later, he insisted that I was sleeping. He said he could hear me breathing loudly, and when I denied it, he accused me of lying about falling asleep. He said the problem wasn't that I was sleeping, it was that I was lying about it. I told him I was tired and did not want to deal with his tantrums, and we called it a night. When I texted him the following morning, I didn't hear back, so I started to get worried. I saw that I had accessed my Peloton account less than an hour before, and figured maybe he's still upset and just needs space. But he didn't call or text me back that day for 5 days and continued to use my account each of those 5 days. When I still haven't heard a word from him after 5 days, I disabled his access to my account. He accused me of being emotionally abusive when I did that. According to him, I should have known he is not in a good place right now and might need space. He claimed to be doing some 14-day mind-body meditation challenge that I interfered with. I felt bad, but I told him he could have communicated that to me. But since he chose to ghost me instead, I had no way of knowing. Am I the arsehole? Now, I think this is a definite not the arsehole for me. He's accusing you of disengaging while you're falling asleep during movies or whatever. You tried to address it, yet he's still accusing you of doing the same, even though you said that you wasn't sleeping. But yet, then has the cheek to ghost you for 5 days, disengaging, and then gets upset about it as well. Yeah, I don't think this is going to go well. But Wrapped2Right says not the arsehole. If he needed to go silent for a period of time, it was his responsibility to communicate that. He can't just shut down and expect you to intuitively know what is going on. It's also weird to get that upset about you getting sleepy. Molly Roll says not the arsehole, but he sounds horrible. Him controlling your sleep habits and making them all about him is the first red flag. You could have dumped him right there and no one would have been mad. As for the current predicament, ghosting and the silent treatment are emotional abuse. Maybe your response was a little passive-aggressive, but I like it. You had a way of knowing for sure that he was alive and well, and he was therefore just choosing to not contact you. It's not your responsibility to guess how long that's going to last and keep the flame burning until he's ready to magnanimously forgive you. For nothing, you did nothing. It's okay to just say fine, your loss, and cut him the rest of the way out of your life. And that's a process you started with the Peloton account. Now finish it with literally everything else. Coco Sneeze says not the arsehole, so let me get this straight. The dude gets angry if you fall asleep during movies or TV shows because it makes him feel like you're disengaged. He got angry because you were breathing heavily and lied about falling asleep. Then he ghosted you for 5 days but continued to use your Peloton account. So what he did was not disengaging, and he had the nerve to throw in the emotionally abusive because you cancelled his access to your account. Child of Air says not the arsehole, you two should break up. The fact that he decided to ghost you yet still expect you to instinctively, I guess, know how he feels is absurd and also a red flag. You're in therapy, but it doesn't sound like he's doing a very good job about keeping the communication lines open. Also, I get that falling asleep during a movie sucks, but you work and he doesn't. Perhaps he should be a bit more understanding. I think it's time to end things with him. He sounds like a manipulative jerk. And one more from Fool Me Once, Shame on You, who says not the arsehole, who gets angry at someone for falling asleep. It's literally an involuntary bodily reaction. You have no control over it, and if he's upset about you lying about it, maybe he should consider that his previous anger and holding you to unreasonable standards has literally made you feel unsafe and uncomfortable being honest with him because you know he'll react with anger about something you have no control over. You disabled his access to something, not as a punishment, but to prompt communication from someone who had no problem benefiting from the luxuries you provide, but wouldn't even communicate with you in a basic, respectful way as your partner. He treated you horribly and yet continued to expect you to provide things for him. None of this is okay. You didn't punish him, you set a boundary. Good for you. You are certainly not the arsehole. So then OP came in with a brief update to update the post, which says, he came over tonight to talk and I broke things off. The first words out of his mouth were, what do you have to say for yourself? We didn't end up talking for long. I asked for my key back and I hugged him politely at the end. This was nothing like our first breakup where I was bawling my eyes out. He sent his roommate over to my place immediately after we talked to return most of my belongings, which I didn't ask for, but among them, a sentimental portrait of us, a blender, a scrunchie, and one beat-up Nike sandal. He told his roommate to relay the message that once he found the other sandal, he would send that too. I told his roommate not to even bother. He could throw it away. Thank you, savage internet strangers, for the harsh wake-up call today. FTS? Is that fuck this shit? I'm done. And I had to Google that FTS because all I got is financial something when I Googled it. And what was with the sandal and the things that he returned in this instance? Is it just some sort of like petty move on his part? And there's one thing that does drive me mad about like watching like series with other people. When they commit to it, you know, you're watching it together, you're going to be watching every episode together and, you know, then they don't commit to it at all. Obviously, you don't go crazy like this dude did and you have a conversation about, you know, I'm going to have to go on without you. But it does drive me crazy. And before you go, I just wanted to read this little comment that I saw on a Wholesome post on Ask Reddit. And it says, from Strone's Throwaway, who says, driving on the highway, the car in front of me suddenly swerved to take an exit. And then tried to swerve back onto the highway, almost sideswiping me in the process. Luckily, there was no one to my left, so I veered into the left lane and avoided an accident. A few moments later, I'm passing her. She just very sheepishly looks up at me, kind of anticipating and expecting someone to cuss her out. Well, I had just learned a new road trip trick. Flipping people off is stupid, but giving them a thumbs down really stays with someone. It's the, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed of the road. I had a huge ass thumbs down queued up for this driver, but when I saw her face, I immediately knew she didn't mean to. She was embarrassed and she already felt bad enough. So instead, I flashed her a huge smile, dramatically and jokingly wiped the sweat from my brow and gave her a huge giant thumbs up. She smiled and laughed, and honestly is one of my favorite moments in my life. This reminded me when I was learning to drive back when I was 17 years old. And I used to have 2 lessons every week with this company, and they would take me out and they literally just take you straight out onto the road and amongst the traffic, and it was scary as shit back then. I remember going down this road and there was cars on the right hand side, so there's only enough room for one car, and I could see one car waiting a bit further down the road. And as I got to him, I started slowing down because, you know, that's what I was told to do, and I stalled the car. And so I had to stop, I had to put the handbrake on and do all the stuff that, you know, the driver instructor wants you to do. And I was absolutely, I could feel myself burning up at the same time. I started the car up again, I stalled it again, and I was just having an absolute nightmare in that moment. And I looked up and I could see the other driver expecting, you know, him to be absolutely furious. And he gave me this motion of like, he lifted both of his hands up to his chest and sort of like, just calm down kind of thing, calm down. And that just put me at ease instantly. And I sort of started the car up and drove off, and you know, the instructor waved for me because I had to have my hands at 10 and 2. But that person, wherever they are right now, probably doesn't even realize that I remember that story and how kind they were that day to save me from, you know, getting over flustered in that moment. And I think that's just wonderful when people act like that sometimes. But what do you guys make of today's stories? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, as always, if you choose to share them. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved. It truly does mean the world, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. Nah, you just don't care. You just don't. Still selling false hope cause you just don't care. House.